everyone, and welcome to Positive by Design. Good people talking about real shit and easy to implement success methods. Hosted by Social Jane Media, brought to you by yours truly, Sarah Glenn. I am the creator and CEO of Social Jane Media, a certified social media marketing expert and the branding specialist that many entrepreneurs turn to. If you're looking for inspiration from other entrepreneurs and high-vibing humans, you're in the right place. So settle in, get comfy, and let's get started. Hey, beautiful people. Oh my goodness. This is a really good podcast episode, you guys. First off, it was my birthday yesterday, by the way. And this is a little bit of a spicy episode, just the content in general of what we're going to be talking about. The whole premise of today's podcast episode is going to be, is your brand intentional? And the reason I say it might be a little spicy is because it's sort of the contrast of what we're going to be talking about. So I guess being 36 means I'm extra spicy now. So celebrations all around, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for always tuning in and catching these episodes. I really, really appreciate you guys. And of course, leave honest reviews, give your ratings, all the things. It helps me continue to show up and provide these episodes to you. So what are we talking about today? Is your brand intentional? Well, what do I mean by this? So having a brand, it sort of just happens, right? Like if you're not showing up on a daily basis, on your socials, if you're building a business online, that's part of your brand. If you are constantly spamming your profiles for people to buy your things, right? Buy your products, that is becoming your brand. That is what people will start to know you for. So whether you have an intentional brand or not, you're creating a brand. Is it the one you want to create? Is it the message you actually want to be putting across? Is it actually how you want people to feel? So I was tuning into a training. Let's see, at the time of this, it was like earlier in the month, right? Earlier in October. I tuned into a training with Eric Worre, and he was actually having a conversation with John and Nadia Melton. And I've gotten to know them a little bit over the last couple months, met them back in September, and just really fantastic power couple that is doing the damn thing. So the three of them were having a conversation about, showing up, building a business on social. And I believe it was Nadia who was talking about, your brand, whether you mean to or not, your brand is exactly how you're showing up. So if you're constantly spamming your socials, if you are super inconsistent and you show up once every 2 weeks and you're expecting to build a business that way, all of these things are becoming part of your brand. So why not get intentional about building a brand? And I'm not talking about the colors that you use and the fonts that you use and the imagery and all the things. Yes, that is part of a brand, right? Once you really get into it and you start diving into fully creating a brand for yourself, yes, then we start talking about those things. But first and foremost, your brand is how you make people feel. It is how people expect to communicate with you. So whether you mean to or not, you're creating a brand with your good habits and your bad. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because knowing this, right? Knowing that whether you mean to or not, you're creating a brand around the actions that you take on a daily basis. So now that you know that, why not be more intentional about it? Why not show up with intention? Why not show up consistently? Why not show up with a cohesive message and vibe, right? And this kind of really, like, as I'm thinking about this, because I'm just riffing here, like, I don't show up to these podcast episodes with notes. I allow what I'm going to say to just come to me. And that's why sometimes you might hear me stumbling over my words or whatever. I'm human. And I do these podcast episodes specifically so I can connect with you on a real human to human level. So you know that, like, okay, sure, I might look a little more polished online. That shit's intentional, you guys. Intentional brand, right? That's what we're talking about. But I don't always show up with my hair done and my makeup on. You see me plenty not made up. I wear makeup about one day out of the week. And it's usually when I'm doing recordings and things of that nature. So be intentional. Show up for you. What is the brand that you want people to think of you for, right? What is the brand that you want to be known for? What is the brand of how you want people to feel? What is that? And so I actually think that there's this huge misconception around branding. Like, people think if you've got a badass logo, you're done. That's all you need. Oh my gosh, no. Your brand is you. It's all of you. It's how you show up. It's how you vocalize the things that you care about. It's how you have conversations with people in the DMs. Yeah, sometimes it's the pictures you post and the graphics you make. Sometimes. But the majority of the time, it is how you are making people feel. And it is how people remember you. So most people, like, let's say, for example, with my brand, I did it intentionally. I've done it intentionally over the last 10 months or so. I have very intentionally created a brand that leads with value, a brand that can become the touch point and the resource for people building businesses online. If they have a question, if they want to learn something, they know they can come into the Social Jane community, go to the guide section, and probably find a training about it. Or go into Spotify or Apple and go to Positive by Design and grab a podcast episode about it. I also create all of these things, all of these weekly shows and weekly podcasts and all of these. I create all of these things not just for the fucking fun of it. I do it because I know that my efforts today can become a powerful resource for somebody 2 months from now. That's creating an intentional brand. So whether you're doing it on purpose or not, how you're showing up on social is creating a brand in essence. You have to ask yourself, is it the one you want? And if not, don't feel bad about it. There is no guilt here. There is no judgment. If the brand that you are inadvertently creating online is not the one that you want, well, this is a fucking great opportunity for you to start doing something about it. Okay, so what can you start doing about it? First off, decide, what are the things I want to be known for? When someone comes across my page, when I end up in someone's DMs, what are people going to sort of assume about that connection? Is it, oh, here she is again. She's about to spam me with another promo about her products. Or is it, hey, she's checking in on me and my family, and I see she's totally crushing it online. You know, okay, I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be a little more receptive to this conversation, right? Like, it's very different. It's very different. And I'm not saying that you should filter your, how you show up. I'm not saying you should filter it in order to please other people. No, it's not about that. But you know how you want to be perceived. You know how you want to feel about yourself. So be intentional about that when you show up, and you will end up creating the brand that truly is a reflection of you. And so frequently I come into contact with people that they see somebody else doing, really fantastic, building their businesses, all the things, and they want to replicate what they're doing and turn it into, their brand. They're like, okay, I love what they're doing. So can we take this entire concept, but like change the colors so it's mine? Yes and no, honestly, because the way somebody is showing up, that is as much a part of their brand as the colors they're using. So you have to decide for yourself, what do I want to be known for? What is the reason that people are going to plug into me, right? What is the reason that people are going to show up to a live that I'm doing or comment on a post that I'm doing? And yes, there are ways that you can sort of help to initiate engagement, of course. But being you, being fully like in your power and showing up and doing the thing that you are the most confident and comfortable to speak about and share about and coach about and teach about, that's what's really going to create that magnetism that someone can't ignore. And that's what creates your brand. So I know a lot of you have come into contact with the brand quiz that I created a couple months back. But if this is the first time you're hearing about it, or if you're still feeling a little bit like, I don't know, with my brand, go take the brand quiz. If you go to socialjanemedia.com, it is on the homepage. You don't even have to leave the homepage to take the quiz. It's really fucking cool, actually. But go take the brand quiz, because this is going to help point you in the direction of what it looks like to have an intentional brand. And this is just scratching the surface, right? The brand quiz, it's a super fun way to start to unearth this information. But obviously, it's up to you to take it further. It's up to you to put it into action and to implement it. Working with me, like, let's say you hire me to help implement the brand. Yeah, there's parts of it that I'm going to 100% help you implement and put into action. But the core of it, the core of your brand and how, the direction of where you want to take that intentionality, that's up to you. Nobody can tell you that, and you can't replicate that from anybody. It comes from you. So you have to be comfortable enough to tap into that part of yourself. And honestly, that's why some brands, they just don't land, because sometimes like they haven't really tapped into the actual essence of what they think about themselves, what they want other people to think about them, how they want to be remembered, how they want to be perceived, right? So for me, like, I understand my brand is leads with value, super simple, like systems to implement, straight talk. Like, I'm not going to give you all this fucking fluff. I cuss. That's part of it too. Obviously, if you've been here, you know. But it's really sort of like a no frills, to the point, simple, yet elegant point of view. That's my brand. And that's why you see most of my stuff has sort of this slate gray or white. Like every now and then I throw in a little pop of color here and there if I feel like it. And I love to wear color. I mean, I'm wearing red earrings today. I was wearing like a hot pink shirt the other day. I love bright, like Kelly green, but I don't wear that stuff all the time. And so I'm not going to integrate that into my brand because I don't want to see those colors all the time, to be honest. So you have to decide for yourself, like, what is the vibe? What is that intentional brand that you're going to create? And so that's why I mentioned the brand quiz. It's totally free. You guys can take it. Like I said, it's at socialjanemedia.com on the homepage. So when you take the brand quiz, you're going to be placed into one of the 4 results categories. Now, like I said, this is sort of just a jumping off point. But for example, one of the results is curious and adventurous. So this tends to be the person who might be a little bit funny, a little bit quirky, definitely, loves like exploring new things, whether that be outdoors, whether that be new concepts, right? Just thinking outside the box a little bit, not afraid to kind of be the one-off, be the trend starter instead of the trend follower. You know what I mean? So when you take the quiz and you get to these results, not every single part of the result has to 100% resonate with you. But what you really want to pay attention to is look at it from the perspective of creating an intentional brand. So how are you showing up now? Do you love it? Is it totally in line with you? If not, how do you want to show up? And what's the difference in between? Find solutions, find resources, plug into people that are going to help you discover these answers. And that's why I'm doing this podcast episode, so we can talk about it. Is your brand intentional? Because if it's not, you're creating a brand whether you mean to or not. Is it the one you want? You really have to ask yourself. So I would definitely say if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't know where to go next, take the brand quiz. For sure, get yourself into the Social Jane community. I'm always taking podcast requests inside of the community. So if you're in there, you can absolutely submit a request to, for us to have a podcast episode about for things that you want to hear about. There's weekly shows happening inside of the group. And we're always talking about how to build brand recognition and in turn, make more sales. That's what we're here for. That's what my brand is here for. What is your brand here for, right? So be intentional with it, because whether you're showing up the way you mean to or not, that's how people are perceiving it. And you're creating a brand whether you mean to or not. So here's your reminder. Be fucking intentional. And I always appreciate you guys showing up to these episodes. And of course, if you wouldn't mind doing me a solid and just rating and reviewing, any of these episodes that you listen to, because it just helps me show up and continue to provide all of this value and these conversations. I love being here with you. So till next time, we'll chat soon. That was so much fun. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you want to get a shout out or maybe even inspire a fellow entrepreneur, go ahead and take a screenshot of yourself listening to this episode and tag us in your stories at Social Jane Media. Positive by Design is brought to you by Sarah Glenn, CEO of Social Jane Media, the branding and business coaching agency that teaches you how to discover your authentic brand, lead with value, and build the business you desire. If you're ready for more, head over to the Social Jane community. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you inside.